Hi everyone, it's your favorite person, Seashell here, and today I am creating a story time to work in conjunction with my first release on my podcast for a topic I've labeled sorry, not sorry or not sorry. And I wanted to create this story time to kind of help continue that discussion that is on my podcast. As you'll listen to it, you'll understand that I'm a person who I love to get closure. I love if somebody has hurt me, I want to hear that you're sorry. I want to hear what you know that you've done wrong, and I want closure. I want to be able to walk away feeling like, okay, that was a bad situation and it was so wrong on all these levels, but I feel good at the end of the day because it's officially closed and done. I can move on. But sometimes people don't want to give you that ability to give you the closure that you need. And then some people do get closure and they don't know how to move on. So that's a whole nother different topic that you can kind of hear and get some ideas from the podcast on that first release called Sorry or Not Sorry. So make sure you go check it out. But my story today is really going to be about a time where I actually hurt someone and how I was able to give them the closure that they need, why I think it's important to do that, and really just kind of demonstrate if you don't know how to give somebody closure, this is a way to do it, okay? So we'll get right into the story. I've had plenty of times where I've been hurt, plenty of things that have happened to me where I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. And I didn't get the closure that I need, and I was able to move on. And you'll hear more about how you can do that and how I have been able to do that. But this story time, I felt like it was hard for me to really feel to take one of those past pains and hurts and things and just like break it into one story that summarizes all of that and how important it is to tell somebody you're sorry. So I was like, you know what? We're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the time where I actually did the hurting. And this hurts my heart because, as you all know, I am a very kind, nice, sweet person. Like, I don't want to hurt your feelings at all. What I'm starting to realize is that even with me being nice and kind, there is such a possibility, a great possibility, that I can still hurt somebody intentionally or not. Like, I know never, ever will I ever try to hurt somebody intentionally because that's just not what I want to do. But unintentionally, my kindness can get in the way and actually hurt someone. I never, ever thought that that could happen, but it happens when you're trying to always be on the lookout for somebody else and trying to make sure that you do whatever they need, but you can't do what somebody else needs because you're not that person. So really, that's why I encourage people all the time to really focus on the inside of themselves, because people are different. They're not all the same. So the way that I feel that life should go and how people should treat each other is not the way that everybody else feels. And so you should really do everything that you can to interact with people and respect who people are, and just, try to be kind as far as you can, but always remember that any action that you take can hurt somebody. So you have to be willing to willing to apologize, acknowledge what you've done to somebody, and help them to move on from whatever pain you might have caused them. So here's how I hurt someone. I was dating someone, and this was about 3 years after I got divorced. I started dating, and he came into my life at just a very vulnerable time in my life. I was just feeling really down about not finding somebody, and I really just wanted to date. I wanted to be taken out. I wanted to feel special, and I wanted to, meet the one. That's what I wanted. And so he came into my life where at a time that I just it was just not working out with guys. I had tried to do the online dating. I had been on blind dates and all kinds of stuff, and it was just not working out. So I met him, and he was just the sweetest person ever. And I had never really been out with a guy who was so kind and sweet and generous like myself. Like, it was just amazing. He was very attentive to me. He really wanted to do everything to make sure that I was happy. Just an all-around great guy. So I started dating him, and I noticed that when we first went out on our first date, things started moving like really, really fast. Like, you know, as far as like our feelings and our emotions getting attached to each other, like, were really, really quick. And I had a best friend who was like watching me the whole time, and she's like, hey, I think you guys are moving a little fast. You might want to slow down a little bit, because, you know, just to be careful, like, take things a little slower. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We're gonna take things slow, whatever. So we're dating. I'm starting to get to know him. He's starting to get to know me. We are working together as one to, you know, start to figure out what we want in our futures and all this stuff. And so he's just a really good, really great guy. And, you know, we're getting along great. So then we start to introduce each other to our friends. We start hanging out with friends. We go on double dates and triple dates with friends, and it's really cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, I finally have somebody else. So for the first few weeks of dating him, I was just in that cloud nine of, oh my God, I finally have like a somebody with me when I'm going out, you know, like this is awesome. And so then we started meeting family as well, and started going to events and functions together. And I noticed that he was like really, really quiet, just like I am, just really kind of the same person almost. And it was really, really cool. Except for we did have some differences in the styles, our styles, and the type of future that we wanted. Like we were not on the same path. So that is what you call unequally yoked. I was starting to see where we were not equally yoked. But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of ignore those things for right now, and let's just, you know, let's keep going and see what happens. Then I started realizing that he was the conduit, or the person that everybody comes to for assistance. Like, they come to him if they need money, if they need a place to stay, if they need, like, whatever it is. And he would literally drop everything to make sure that whoever's asking for it could, you know, get the help that they needed, which I admire, because I'm a giving person too. I love to help people, but not at the you know, detriment of myself or other people who are like a priority to me. I don't know that he really knew how to prioritize how to give help and when to say no. Like, he was just always willing just to say yes, even if he didn't have it. He would literally try to kill himself to make sure that he would, you know, be able to give back to everybody. And I thought that was a major flaw for me, because that's not taking care of yourself. Because if you work yourself too much and you do too much and you don't know how to say no and take care of yourself, if something was to happen to you, then you're really not able to help anybody else out. And then it's sad for everybody else who's like attached to you, who loves you. Like, that's just not a good way to be. And so I tried to give him feedback on that a couple of times, but I was like, you know, I'm not gonna try to change anybody. Like, that's not who I am. I don't do that. If people who are who they are, I respect that. Like, I really, really do. If that's who you are, I think that you're supposed to be that giving and that caring and that kind. So I'm not gonna try to change you. Unless you want to change yourself, if you ask me for my opinion about that, I would be glad to give it to you. But if that's who you are and the type of person that you want to be, who am I to judge you and to change? Because I feel that, I feel a different way for myself on how I would approach that situation. So I just didn't feel good about that. So it's been about 2 months since we were dating, and it was just a lot of things just starting to show up that this was not the right person for me. So there's not just like one thing. It was just like overall, we just weren't on the same page. But like I said, he was just the sweetest person ever. And so I broke up with him. We went to a wedding together, and on the way back from the wedding, I broke up with him. And he was just devastated because there was no red flags. There was nothing that he could, try to do to fix, or knew that this was gonna come. Like, he had no idea. And that's because, like, that's where I say my kindness and my sweetness and all that stuff is, it can hurt somebody, because like, I didn't give him any indication either. There was like nothing I would say to him, because like I said, I don't like judging people. I don't like trying to tell people what to change about themselves to fit me. Like, that's just not it. I feel like the person that I'm gonna meet is going to be the exact way that I want them to be. And maybe there are some things that he might do that are things that I don't really care for or whatever, but I can overlook those things and we'll be fine, because I could pick up the slack from whatever it is that he might not do, and vice versa. Like, I'm never ever going to get into a relationship with somebody where everything about them, I want them to change. Like, that's just not me. I'm not going to do that. And because I feel like I've done that before. I've been in relationships where I've done everything to change myself to give them what they want, and I still wasn't enough. So I'm not going to do that. And I don't want to do that to somebody else and expect them to change for me. And so because I am that way, I didn't tell him the things about him that were giving me indication that we weren't on the same page. So it took him by surprise when I broke up with him. And so it really hurt him. It really hurt him, and he could not understand why this had happened. And so I offered for a couple of weeks to answer his questions. He could call and he would ask things like, is it the way that I dress? Is it my friends? Like, is it because I'm so willing to give to other people? Like, what is it about me? What can I do to change to fit where you are? Because like, we were just on such a great path and we were great together. And I was like, I get that, but I don't want you to change, and I'm not going to tell you anything about you that I feel like it wasn't working for me, because just because it wasn't working for me doesn't mean that it's not going to work for somebody else. So it's not my place to dog you out and tell you all these things about you that I didn't like. It's just, we weren't on the same page. Like, it just wasn't gonna work out. And so he asked to take me out, and we went out together, and he wanted that closure. He wanted to understand. And of course, when he would take me out, he tried to get back in again, and he would say things, and I would just have to be like, no, it's not. I'm only here with you because I realize that I hurt you, and I apologize. I want to give you the opportunity to ask any additional questions that you have, and just give you the closure that you need. What do you need to hear from me in order to realize that, this is not gonna work out? Like, we are not on the same page. So then he started asking for those specific examples, and I gave him the examples, and I said, that does not mean that because it didn't work for me, that it's not going to work for somebody else. So I don't want you to change. And if you promise to change that, it's not going to make a difference, because I know this is who the person that you truly are at heart, and I don't want to change that. And so after about 2 weeks after we broke up, and I called, like every time he called or every time he texted, anytime he asked me to go out, I did those things to give him the closure that he needed to be able to move on. And when he finally got it, he thanked me for the opportunity to kind of just meet with me and hear from me how sorry I was about this situation, about dragging him along. I mean, because he even confronted me about that. He said, you know, you could have told me earlier on. Like, if you knew this earlier on, you could have told me that early on and not getting my feelings to this level. And I was like, you know what? That is my bad. You are totally right. Like, I am in the wrong for that. I should not have carried it this long, knowing that, you know, the signs were there that we were not going to be able to make it. And I'm sorry for carrying this relationship on for this long, knowing that, you know, it wasn't going to work out. And I apologize about that. Like, I know moving forward, when I'm in a relationship with somebody, if it's not going to work out, I'm not going to waste their time. And I sincerely apologize, and I ask you to forgive me. And he did. He forgave me. And we're friends today. Like, we don't call and text each other anymore, but we keep up with what each other are doing on social media and stuff like that. And he's cool. I know that if I needed something, I could call him, or if he needed something, he could call me. But the possibility of us ever getting back on that relationship path, we know, both of us know that it's never going to happen. And that's because he got the closure that was needed to be able to move on away from this situation. And it makes me feel really good that I was able to give that to him. And I wish more people were willing to do that for people. Like, give them the closure that they need to be able to move on, so they can carry on with their next relationship and not have lingering feelings or hurt feelings or feel bad about a situation from the past. Like, it's just a grown-up, nice thing to do when you have done somebody wrong, to give them that opportunity to say, hey, I'm sorry. Here's what I know I did wrong. My bad. My apologies. Forgive me. If you don't, I understand, but I just want you to know that I'm sorry, and I hope life goes great with you. Like, that's just a nice, human, decent thing to do for people. So if you've ever been in a situation like that, did you handle that? Did you handle it that way? If you hurt somebody, like, what's the harm in being able to give somebody closure like that? Otherwise, I feel like if I had not given him that closure, he would still be calling me, and me answering him or texting him back would give him the wrong message. Like, yeah, there's still a possibility when I already know that there's not. So that's where I think we should do better with people and their feelings when we hurt them. So, as always, let me know what you think. Send me any feedback or anything that you feel like maybe I might have missed in this whole story time that you want me to share with my subscribers in a later episode. I'd be happy to do that. Thank you as always for listening, and I hope you have a great day.